What if you could step back 200 years? Not as a tourist, but as a witness. This place isn't a museum, it's a portal. For one day, I brought 2025 technology into 1830. Modern tools to capture a world that existed before electricity, before recording, before anyone imagined you could freeze sound and light. You're about to see life as it was lived in the 1830s. Insights from the people who bring this village to life. And 3 instruments you have probably never heard before. And at the end, I'll show you exactly how I captured all of this, the settings, the challenges, and one critical mistake that almost ruined the audio. But first, let me show you what happens when 2025 meets 1830.
All right, so I have 3 instruments to show you all today, each innovative for their time, either new inventions or improvements on old ones. To start, we have an instrument from our time period, and really only our time period. This is the Rocking Melodeon. This was invented in 1831 in Canton, Massachusetts, just outside Boston, by James Bazan. And this instrument only was in production for 21 years, falling out in 1852 when the last one was made. So I call it a Rocking Melodeon. A good alternative name for it from the day is the lap organ. It sounds kind of like an organ, doesn't it? So there's a good reason for that. This was made to be an organ. In the day, they were mostly just pipe organs. Some aspects of this work just like older organs. The layout of keys is just like any other keyboard instrument. In fact, you could get a nicer melodeon from the day that would have had traditional keyboard keys, as opposed to these Star Trek buttons. The bellows work just like a lot of other organs from the day and much older organs as well, where there's a 2-chamber system. The right chamber plays the instrument, the left chamber powers the instrument. So right now, no sound will come out when I hit the keys. But if I push down on the left, we have a little burst of air. The left side has springs, and they're one-way valves on the bottom, so when I let go, it pumps itself full of air. Now we have a little more air. And the advantage of having the 2 different chambers is that you can keep pumping the right side full as it's being drained. So you can play indefinitely. So you can keep playing and playing in as long as you need. These pieces of brass on the inside here are free reeds. It's the same thing you would see on the inside of any harmonica, accordion, the pitch pipes we use for choirs and things of the like, as well as many, many other instruments all over the world. Free reeds have been around for thousands of years, at least 3,000 years in East Asia. Now we can have these affordable organs for meetings.
store is called the ASA Knight Country Store. Okay, it's an 1830s country store, which is what the village is, 1830s. And if you lived in a village like this in the 1830s, it would be your one-stop shopping. We would have over 2,000 items here from all over the world. So we carry what you cannot make or grow yourself.
The tool I'm using is what's called a round knife. It's used, well, for cutting, feathering. It's one of those tools that you're terrified of when you're first learning how to do the trade. And then the more you are doing it, the more useful you find that knife is. So I'm just using my scribe to mark out this piece. Now in our day, in a shop the size of this one, you're going to find about 8 shoemakers working in here. And we're all working for a shoe boss, as he's called, a shoe manufacturer. And we'd actually be supplied the top part of the shoe done, and enough to make 60 pair in that size and style. And our job would be to bottom those uppers. So I could get 60 pair of those, be supplied the last that I'm gonna need to build the shoe on to make it the required size, and enough sole leather just to finish that many pairs of shoes, and get paid 17 cents to 30 cents a pair for my labor.
Yeah, so welcome to the cabinet shop. A cabinet maker would be a furniture maker predominantly, and I'm working on the parts to become a utensil drawer and a kitchen table right now. So I've cut this to the final length that I want it, and I had a line scribed all the way around so it'll be uniform, and I'm just kind of cleaning it up to that line right now. But pretty much everything we're going to be making would be made to order. So not a lot of ready-made furniture in a town of this size. You would see that in larger towns and cities, but not so much out here. And the reason for that is there's plenty to keep us busy, but not making stuff our neighbors don't want or need, nor do we really have the storage space to keep much furniture. So don't want to get stuck with something that I just spent time and materials on if I can't sell it. So
2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 3, 1. And that sounds like a waltz, doesn't it? What I was doing with my right hand was completely arbitrary. I was hitting not random keys, since I do this every day and I do it the same way every day, but arbitrary keys. If I shift it, it will still work. And in fact, if I take my finger and put it across the keyboard, it will still work. And maybe that's not the most musical thing in the world, but it didn't sound bad, did it? The idea of this and the idea of harmonicas is you can't produce a sour note. You can just throw air through it and it will create a nice chord. So many of these accordions were made that they're not hard to find. If you visit a couple of antique shops, you're bound to run into one or two of these. That being said, the bellows are made out of cardboard and leather. Both materials that notoriously don't hold up over time. So, and any that you find has to be worked on, and I'd be surprised if there's more than 50 and especially 100 of these functioning in the world today. And I'm not sure of anyone who makes them, and I know there are very few people who will restore them. Here's the fiddle tune I've been working on. This is called Oh John, Kiss Me Now. So, all right, here's a fiddle tune from the day. This is an English one, mostly associated with America today. This is called The Girl Left Behind Me.
So how did I actually capture these? Let me talk settings. Sony ZV-E1 in cinematic vlog mode, locked at 24 frames per second. I always shoot at base ISO. Inside those historic buildings, that's ISO 2000. Outside, in natural light, ISO 100. And of course, I used an ND filter to balance the light outdoors and keep that shallow depth of field you are seeing. Sigma 24-70mm f2.8 art lens. Versatile enough for wide village landscapes and tight enough for the intimate moments. Here's where it gets interesting. DJI Mic Mini. Every voice, every instrument, every ambient sound all captured wirelessly. But here's the challenge. I connected the DJI receiver to the Sony's 3.5mm input, which limits me to the 16-bit audio. Now, 16-bit sounds fine. The quality difference between 16-bit and 24-bit is barely noticeable to most ears. But here's what matters: headroom. 24-bit audio gives you 144 dB of dynamic range, 16-bit only 96 dB. That's a huge difference when you are recording unpredictable live performances in spaces you cannot control. So here's my tip. If you are recording 16-bit, set your DJI transmitter to -6 dB. I did this for every recording. It gives you a safe room so you don't clip when a musician suddenly gets louder or when ambient noise spikes. It saved multiple recordings. But here's a better way. I just got the DJI Mic Mini Sony hot shoe adapter. It was back-ordered, didn't arrive in time for this shoot, but with that accessory you can bypass the 3.5mm input and record 24-bit audio directly to the Sony. More headroom, more safety, no compromises. If you are shooting with Sony camera and a DJI Mic Mini combo, get that adapter, it's a game changer. In Final Cut Pro, I kept it simple. Light cathedral reverb to give the natural acoustics of those 1830s spaces. Opto compressor on individual audio tracks to even out dynamics. Multiband compressor on the master track to glue everything together. That's it. If you want me to break down more technical details, drop a comment. And if you made it this far, thank you. History isn't just something we read about. It is something we can still hear, still feel, and still discover if we are willing to listen. See you on the next one.